Welcome to Training Unleashed, the show that will help you design and deliver training that's off the chain and will make a difference. Now, here's your host, Evan Hackle.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Training Unleashed. Today, you guys are going to have some fun because this day and this conversation is all about you. It's about you, your personal brand, how you can present yourself better, how you can make what you do in your life what you want it to be, actually, if you really think about it. And we have an expert on branding, on personal branding, on creating your own uniqueness, which to me, I think is important because either you are the brand you create or you are the brand other people create about you, the story they tell about you. So I have with me Shelia Anderson, and she is with Image Power Play. And what she does is she helps people and she helps companies create unique individual people and brands and brings them to excellence, as well as she is a public speaker. So we're very, very happy to have her here. Shelia, why don't we just get going and share with us why it matters? Why does it matter that you have your own brand and you be a unique person?
Well, first of all, Evan, thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor to speak with you and your audience. So the first thing I tell people is you are a brand, and you have a brand whether you like it or not. So a lot of times I was
lucky at the beginning.
A lot of times people will think, I don't need a personal brand, and I'm like, you already have one, whether you know it or not, you already have one. So it matters on, people need to know you before they need you or before they hire you. And so how do you get exposure? And I think a lot of times the internet has leveled the playing field on people can look really big online and look like they have a lot of credibility and a lot of expertise. And you can build out your personal brand that way, but there's other ways that you can build out your personal brand and become known as an expert.
Can I hold you for 1 second?
Sure.
I want to encourage everyone to go to imagepowerplay.com, because when you go to the website, and this isn't just about going to the website to learn about her, you will see Sheila's brand. It just echoes the excitement, the power, the energy. It's a statement of who she is, and it's a great representation of what you're talking about. So I just wanted to point that out to people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You. It is important. We live in a visual world.
Yeah.
So it matters how you present yourself visually.
Now, granted, most people on this podcast don't have their own websites, but they are still their own brand by everything they do. So please continue.
Sure. There's ways that you can be known for your expertise, and you can do that through articles. You can do that through different blogs that you can write just personally, or you can be a guest blogger. You can gain visibility on obviously being on a podcast.
And you know what? If you're in the training world and you want to be on Training Unleashed, if you can add value to the training world, just go to our website, trainingunleashed.net, and request to be a guest. We'd love to have you. And
that's a great way to build out your personal. Yeah, that's a great way to build out your personal brand, is be a guest on podcasts, or out in your community. You can go be a speaker at a service club, or just there's a lot of different places that you can go and become visible for people to know who you are and what you speak on. And then inevitably they'll bring you into corporations to talk.
So let's just say, for sake of discussion, that I work for a company, I work in the training department. Okay. Most of the people listening do.
Okay.
And what I do is I make presentations, I do live training for the company. I'm representing the company. I'm not representing myself. So how do I be in integrity, doing the exact job and delivering the content the way it's supposed to be delivered, and at the same time be my own brand?
But they have to connect. So you have to be mindful of what that company's personal or that company's corporate brand is, and you have to mirror some of that. And you think about it in terms of I've done corporate branding for probably the last 20 years, as well as the personal branding I do. So I have a foot in the corporate branding world. And one of the things we do in the corporate branding world is figure out what's that one or two words that you want people to think about when they think of your company. And so those words help build out that corporate brand. It's the same thing for your personal brand. Is what do you want? What's that word that you want to own in the minds of others? And so when you
go ahead.
When you come up with that word, that's how you build out your personal brand. And so, for example, say the company wants to be known for being clever.
Okay.
They come up with clever solutions. And so you as the trainer for that company, you need to have some clever solutions. You need to have some clever training. You have to keep that top of mind when you're doing your trainings. And is your visual presentation personally, and maybe the PowerPoint presentation, although I say there's death by PowerPoint, but so make it interesting. That all has to say clever because you are part of that corporate brand. But you have to be authentic to who you are as well. And companies need to allow their employees to be authentic to themselves. But, it is hard to, like, how do you marry it? Because you have to be yourself, but you also represent that company. So first and foremost, you represent that company.
Cool. So let's talk about personal branding for a second. What are your words? What's your personal brand?
I love when people ask me this. It's sophisticated and warmth.
Ooh. Well, you look sophisticated.
Good.
And you are a warm person. So
yeah, those are the two words that I want people to think about when they think of me.
I have two monitors, so I'm staring at your website.
Okay.
And again, image power play, you will feel sophisticated and warm when you go and look. Mm-hmm. So very, very well done. Very, very well done.
Thank you.
For me, I think of my personal brand as engaging with an eye for involvement, where I engage people, mm-hmm. but it's more than I'm engaging, like I talk well, but I engage them and involve them in the conversation to have shared common vision.
Right.
And I see myself as loving, as authentic, and carefree. That's how I define my brand.
I love that. And you are engaging.
So thank you.
Very engaging.
And I have my book, Engaging Leadership, and it's a style of leadership, and it's really core to my beliefs. Mm-hmm. And being authentic is really, really important to me.
Right, and it's how are you connecting with people?
Yeah.
Right. What is that experience that people have with you? And they walk away and they think, when they're thinking of Evan or they're thinking of Shelia or, you as a listener, what are they thinking about? What was that overall experience like? And what was that overall experience like when they were in your training session? And,
it's interesting because everything you do in the company reflects your brand.
Absolutely.
And as we discussed at the beginning, you have one, whether you've defined
mm-hmm.
it or someone else has defined it for you or the world's defined it for you. Mm-hmm. And, how you dress, are you professional? How responsive are you to emails? How do you contribute? How do you work and play with others? And when I play, I mean, are you considerate, polite, all of these things. Mm-hmm. And, it's interesting. I had a conversation with my son about his job, and he's doing like amazingly well at his job. He's like in a year and a quarter, he's at 4 promotions, which is like,
wow. Yeah, doing very well.
Right. So I'm sitting there and I'm staying with him in his house. He's going to go to work in his t-shirt. And I said, Aaron, if you want another promotion, you should dress like the job you want, mm-hmm. so that people see you in that role. And maybe you shouldn't be going to work in a t-shirt. And he goes, but Dad, the CEO wears a t-shirt.
So do they have that's so interesting because I think our society has gotten more casual. And I think geographically, where you're located throughout the United States or the world, I'm in the Midwest, so it's very casual.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you see, men running around in suit and ties. On occasion you do. And my husband's a CPA, for example, owns his own CPA firm. He makes his staff wear a suit and tie every day, even on Fridays. Well, there's a lot of other CPA firms in town that don't. They have allowed them to go more casual. So the interesting thing about clothing to me is that really whatever you put on is how it makes you feel a different way. It makes you feel a certain way. So if you put on something more casual, your mindset probably is going to be more casual. If you put on business clothes, your mindset's going to be more businessy. However, the caveat to that, and I believe there's never a one size fits all for anything, is if you are a very casual person in every sense of the word, that's how your views are. That's what your lifestyle is. If I walk into your home and it's very casual, and how you speak and everything about you is casual. And if you have to be in a suit and tie all day long, you're not going to perform at your optimum level, and vice versa, because you're going to be uncomfortable. That's not who you are authentically. Now, if you're working for that company and that's what that dress code is, you have to follow it.
We're so glad you're listening to this episode of Training Unleashed, brought to you by Tortal Training. The difference between Tortal Training and other online training companies is we're primarily a training company with technology, rather than a technology company that does training. Want to find out more? Just go to tortal.net. That's Tortal, tortal.net.
Company my son works for, their target customer are, men between the ages of, let's say, 15 and 30.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very youthful, and I'm not going to name the company because I'll embarrass my son, but that, they're in the fitness world.
Okay.
So, those people like to work out and they like to wear t-shirts. Mm-hmm. And he likes to wear t-shirts, so it's a good match.
Because that's probably what you think about when you think of the fitness industry. You've already pictured what that looks like now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not suit and ties, but you still can look crisp and professional in a nicer t-shirt.
I think you would agree, first impressions are everything.
Absolutely.
Right. And you can be casual and well-groomed.
Absolutely.
And your clothes are really clean, and they're not super old, and they're really nice. And you can be grungy and be casual. And, it's like, when you go to a restaurant and the bathroom is dirty, you maybe think maybe the kitchen's a little dirty. And so how you look matters, even if it's casual.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because people judge that. And one of the things they're looking at when they first see a person visually is, do they look trustworthy? That's what they're judging. Do you look trustworthy, and do I want to get to know you more? It's like if you're shopping for a house or maybe a car, and you drive by a house and you're looking at it and go, does it have curb appeal? Do I want to see more? Do I want to see the inside? Do I want to open that door to that home or to that person and figure out really who they are? And a lot of times people say, well, it shouldn't matter what I wear. And then I say back to them, you're right, it shouldn't. But as a society, we judge people.
It does.
We do judge people. And you do it as well as I do it. Everybody does it.
But, just adding on to what this conversation is, mm-hmm. I think, somebody could sit here and say, oh, you two are talking, you guys are nuts, you're contrived, you've got these words, describe your plan, and you're worried about this and you're worried about that, and does it really matter? I go into work, I do a good job, shouldn't they just be happy at that? And what I say to people is that we all should have a vision of where we want to go, and then who we be to get there.
Right.
And that having that vision of how we impact people, even, maybe you don't want a vision like you want to be the CEO of the company, but maybe you just have a vision of that you want to connect with people deeply, that you want to make people feel loved and cared for, or you want to, help support people in doing what they do at work at a higher level, that you want to feel like you're contributing to the world. I mean, your vision can be very simple to that. But then if you think about your brand to your vision, if you connect your brand to your vision, then your brand helps you achieve that vision. And your day isn't about just getting through the workday, it's about purpose.
Right.
And that to me is ultimately the culmination of why you think about yourself as a brand. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense. And that's what I talk about in the first chapter of my book is we talk about figuring out what are your values, what are the strengths, what are your goals for your life. And it goes through a whole self-evaluation, like, 365 of who you are and to really think about that, who you are, what do you want to be, and, what values do you want to bring? Because I always say personal branding in the end really isn't all about you. It's about the value that you bring to others.
Yeah. So do you actually have people talk to other people to do a real 365?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. We ping, we get in touch with their friends and family. And then there's also people that maybe haven't known them a long time. There are a lot of times I'll pick people that they don't even know, and I'll just have them Google that person. Look at their LinkedIn profile, go look at them online, and what's your impression of them?
So Shelia, I know one of the things that you do and that you're exceptional at is going into corporations and helping their employees see and recognize their brand.
Yes.
Now, the easy question would be, well, how do you actually do that? But I'm not going to ask you that question.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, what are the results of doing that? What are the benefits to the company? Why does it matter to the company?
It expands that company's reach. Every company wants to be known to have the experts on staff, that they have the thought leaders of the industry and they have those experts. And the way they can do that is help those employees build out their personal brands. And the more you have people out in society or out in the community that are representing you and representing you in a good light.
So you're really talking about not just branding them, but helping them market themselves.
Correct.
So like in my company, we publish lots and lots of articles, and, I could be an egomaniac and have them all under my name, but I actually have everyone in the company that wants to writes articles and gets articles published from their point of view, what matters to them. And it adds to the brand, right? Because Total Training is a brand.
Absolutely.
And they become their own brand. And then when they're talking to clients, they can share the articles that they do. So you teach people how to do that.
Correct.
So when you think about benefits and you use the word extend your reach, you really mean it, because you're going to get exposure, social media, and it's going to add, when you add credibility to your team, you add credibility to the company.
Absolutely. It ties all together.
Yeah, right? I didn't think you were going to say that, but it's really brilliant. I mean, really, really, really brilliant. And I can see why companies would want that, because in my experience, people are a little intimidated with the idea that they're going to publish or they're going to write an article, and how do I get it published, and how do I look good, and thinking about themselves as a brand, and having someone that can guide them through that would be really majorly helpful.
Right. And then the employee feels like they're adding value back to that company, right? Now they have the company entrust them enough to write articles and to have an opinion and have a voice. I mean, we all want to be heard. Yeah. In companies, and we want to know that we're adding value to that company through whatever we're doing, whatever our job is. And so if we can help them add value, it helps us. And we all want personal development.
Yeah. There's another, and I also bet I don't know if you've ever measured it, it probably improves retention.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
probably creates loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what it probably also does? It probably recruits people to want to work there.
Right. Right. Because now you've talked about the culture, and I think companies a lot of times think that they have their brand, right? I have my logo, I have my website, I have my marketing materials. What else do I need? And I'm like, you've started to create your brand,
Yeah.
but now how do you use your employees to help expand that company brand. So that's where I feel the gap is. I think corporations stop at their marketing collateral and think now they're kind of done. And they do some advertising and, different events and to expand their reach and have a voice. But the best way to have a voice is allow your employees to have a voice.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And, it's different too and unique. So I think you offer something and ideas that are fresh and I appreciate that. I think that makes a difference. So I always end, and I know we talked actually before we go about how these things always go by quickly, and this did seem like going by pretty quickly for me.
Good.
But I always end with asking you to share a tip. If you could share one tip with the audience, what would that tip be?
So one of the things that I like to do is create a question board. So when I'm speaking, or even if I'm just in a small group of 5 employees at a company, to write down any questions that they think they're going to have or that they want answered throughout our discussion and throughout our presentation, and then to put it on this board. And so then at the end of my time with them, I'll grab those Post-it notes off and I'll make sure I answer all the questions. So then they feel like they've been heard, and that I can cover things that they really want to learn. And then I take those questions, those Post-it notes, and take them back to the office with me. And then I look through them and see, are there different trends that this question keeps coming up? So maybe I need to incorporate that now into my training or my talks. And this also is a great way for you to come up with ideas for writing articles or writing blogs, because you can see what what does the audience want to know about. And so that's the deal, right? We're here to solve people's pain points.
Yeah.
If you start watching those questions coming in and going, gosh, everybody keeps asking about this, I'm going to cover it in my presentations now, and I'm going to write maybe an article on it or a blog. And
yeah, that's interesting, especially for people in training, to track the questions, and then you're going to know the pain points and the areas where the company can improve.
Right.
You start seeing patterns.
Yes.
Great tip.
Thank you.
So I just want to remind everyone, Image Power Play is a great website, to see how a brand is presented, but she's got some really cool content in there, things that are going to make you think. So I would highly recommend that you go there. You've been a terrific guest, and I always define that when I learn something. So I want to just thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Evan. I really appreciated it and enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, me too.
This has been Training Unleashed, but it doesn't stop here. Just go to trainingunleashed.net to subscribe to the show. That way, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll be well on your way to delivering training programs that are off the chain. We'll talk to you next time on Training Unleashed.